Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Today is an outstanding show. And the reason for that is we're going to go into the journey of Hollywood, making movies, how to take your dream and keep moving forward. Today on the show, we have a young lady whose journey into this entertainment field has been nothing but truly wonderful. Um, Her bio is pretty long, and some of the things that she's accomplished is even more outstanding. And even the individuals that have impacted her life. Today on the show, all the way from Atlanta, but on vacation in Florida, I'd like to welcome to the show Candace Nicole Lee. Welcome to the show, Candace. How you doing?
Doing wonderful. Thank you very much for the introduction.
Let's get right down to business so you can get back on that beach. Tell the viewers a little bit about who Candace Lee actually is.
Right. So at 3, I moved when my family moved from Ohio to Atlanta. And I grew up in art. I mean, we did dance and sing and recitals and all that jazz. But that's not the direction it started out in with film. It went with psychology and design, custom furniture design. And it turns out that as I am growing in my field of the art, I'm working with a director down in New Smyrna Beach. And I was having a good time just vacationing, dancing right there by the water. And this friend is sitting watching, and I look behind me. I'm like, what you doing? What are you doing? And he goes, just do that one more time. I said, I didn't do anything. And he goes, you did. You were dancing right by the water. You were dancing with the water. Just do that one more time. I said, all right. So I closed my eyes, retraced my steps. And he goes, okay, that's it. And I said, what's it? Now he's working on a film and a project. And unbeknownst to me, he took all the actions I just did and had incorporated it into the character for the film.
Right.
So he sits me down after they shoot in another 3 months and shows me how to edit the process. As the actress is doing those moves and she's talking, she sits down the exact same way I did with the emotion that I actually had on the beach. I went, oh, like light bulb. And I don't know, your body kind of just feels light and you just, energy is just full. You're almost kind of shaking. And all of a sudden I'm in the wrong field.
Really?
The whole process is the editing, the storytelling, the way that they were put together. Um, just everything seemed to make sense. And it was then that I was like, okay, all right, well, this is something that resonates everywhere. And it's something I know and I can see and I can feel and I can figure it out because I can see how it happened and I'm part of it. And I didn't even know I was going to be a part of it.
Mhm.
And so I stopped the career that I had in building custom furniture, working with clients, and decided that that was going to be what I pursued. So I transitioned 8 years ago into doing that, and I have not stopped since. At that point in time, I was working on the photography end of it so that I could understand that part better because I felt like that would help me in the acting part of it. And I went to a conference, and across the room, this beautiful and amazing woman sits down in a room full of 60 or more people. And they're starting to decide where we're going to stay for the evening because we're staying 3 days. She points at me and says, her, I want a room with her. So I wait, who are you? That's a little strange. I don't know. And so, with the spirit of yes and improv, sure, that sounds great. Let's do it.
Right.
And it turns out she asked me to be in her short film. And that's where Eden is one of the first ones I was in come into play. And her daughter, Lexi, ends up being Morgan Stark in the Avengers Endgame.
Wow.
And we also took it to the festival. And that ties me into the festival that I am now the director of partnerships on. And so those little increments of stories are the big chunks that put you together to what kept pursuing. And in between, there are so many little markers of just taking chances, doing some of the things, doing the hard things, things people don't necessarily want to do, but are necessary to understand the next step. And, not work smarter, not harder, but also take advantage of situations that will teach you in a one-on-one or in a large group of things that you've never done before, because that changes the perspective on everything in your craft, in your life, and personally, just how you love and interact with people and community, because then it builds out from you. It
You
doesn't stay just in you.
you mentioned so much. You come from Warren, Ohio, which is one of the suburbs, I believe, of Columbus. So you definitely are a Midwestern. But I applaud the fact that you, once you recognized or felt some type of vibrational energy to something that was totally foreign to you, that you decided to say, I'm going after this. Most people would be like too afraid to even dabble in it. They might just kind of like brushed it off. What were some of the things that you had to do to get ready to do this transformation? I noticed on your resume, you did go to redo your undergrad. Did that undergrad now switch over to understanding more of the fine arts?
Yes, so I've been training in multiple schools for the last 2 to 3 years heavily. So that's, everything from acting, improv, method acting, Stanislavski, reading, and then on camera training. I work one-on-one with as like the camera operator as well. I consider that as undergrad just because it's hands-on working with the directors and whatnot. But yes, I've been training for a while now.
I know this may sound a little far fetched, but working in the field that you were in previously, you had to be pretty sound when it came to financial. So you didn't, that's a good business to be in. And I know some of the clientele in which you said that you had. You go into the entertainment field raw, uncrafted. What was the one difficult part that you really had to bring to the table to even have somebody? We know they recognized you, but this is different now. This is now becoming a profession. Some of these individuals have been doing this pretty much all their life. What was the three things that you literally had to bring to the table to amplify or vibrate at a higher level so people can really notice you?
Vulnerability, humility, and attention, like just paying active listening. Sometimes I feel like I'm active listening now and I'm not doing as well as I could be, but it's a consistent part of the craft that you have to hone. You have to hear people for what they want to say to you and not how you just want to perceive it. Sometimes that includes asking questions. And then vulnerability, really, it breaks you all the way down so that you know who you are without the elements that you thought you had before.
Give me an example of those two moments that happened to you.
When you start out with something that you know well and you switch to something else in the art field, you feel like you will adapt quickly and understand simply because that's what you've always done.
Mm.
And when you go in with that mentality, you will see that it will be much harder to move forward. So I would say when you start classes and you think you understand how to bring all those combinations into a camera experience for film and television, and you don't do it right because you don't know. And so your teacher's watching you and they will tell you, because they're supposed to give you feedback and they're supposed to help you. And that feedback is honest and it's raw and it's not always pretty. So it's like, okay, you've missed either the fact that you are overthinking it, you're not being the character, you're being yourself as a character. And all of those things you think you're doing at once, you're not until you just practice. It becomes just part of who you are. And that takes hours of time and somebody giving you honest criticism. And that is, no one likes to be told that's not right. We can't see that in you. No one thinks that you're upset. You might think you're upset inside, but it is not visible to you as the character outside of your body. And so you have to work on physical recognition of where it feels inside of you to be happy and sad and angry and all of those things over and over for hours. So you get so used to knowing where they live that you can use them in your work.
What was the time that your instructors or your coaches or mentors looked at you and said exactly what you just said verbatim, said, hey, you're not in character, you're not doing that right? When was it, and what film was it, or what project were you working on that came?
So thankfully, when you actually book a project, you've already gone through that process yourself with your coach. So I'm going to speak on a class project that we do. So we've started shooting our own in our method acting once every 3 months of ourselves in a vulnerable thing that we write, we light, we shoot, and we're in. And the first one that I did, I realized you don't know much because you can't do all this. So I turned it in, we're watching it, and it's much longer, and you're acting and you're trying to switch into what you're doing with the camera. And all of a sudden you realize you can't be the director and the actor at the same time because you have to jump out of your character to get up and do it. So when someone who gives, very little praise only says things like, thank you for your hard work, that is not good because there was no other comments made. That's the only thing they could come up with was thank you for all your hard work. And I thought, oh, like, I don't even know if that thank you, it kind of feels kind of like it sticks somewhere. So I went back and the next one we did, I decided that I was going to get out of myself. And it just so happened one of the producers that I worked with sent me a message, said, hey, what you working on? And I sent them the concept for the next one for class. They said, can I help write it and direct it? And I said, well, duh. And they said, can I bring my DP? And I said, please.
Right.
And so we booked out an Airbnb and we shot it in 2 days. I did voiceover in the studio and turned it in. And this time it won.
Wow.
So what it taught me was, and that's out of 21, and these people they're very good at what they do. They've been training for a long time. It's competitive. So I was very honored, and that's what they're actually re-editing now so that we can turn it into festivals. It just turned into an incredible project from failure, from getting a thank you for your hard work. And I was like, well, we're not going to do that again. We're going to do something different. But yeah, this actual film in itself is a film of humility. The actual content of it is about the inner thoughts that we have that we don't always say to everybody else, demonstrated through actions getting to a certain point and event. And it was kind of the whole point for me to do it that way, was to get out of my own skin and head and to show that in an artistic way that still looks good.
Is this a project that you are currently doing? Is this experience from something that you're currently doing right now? Or was this something?
This project is done, but it is being re-edited so that it can be submitted. So the only people who have seen it is the class.
Wow. That's totally crazy. You bring a lot of skills down to the set. Kempo, martial arts. Was this something that you was already skilled in prior to switching your careers, or was this something that you needed to understand combat type training to elevate different roles and characters?
So I took those trainings simply because I have a curious nature and I wanted to be a well-rounded human being at that point. But particularly if you want to do it for film, it would help to have an understanding of it in that nature first, but it won't translate to film entirely on its own. You will have to train with stunt coordinators because everything slows down dramatically when you're doing things for film and stunt. So the martial arts is great to have it in your core head and in your ability to see it. But when it comes to that, they're going to teach you specific ways to move that those instructors would not ask you to do because it would get you hurt. So because you're too slow. If you're training for martial arts and you go into a martial arts fight and you're doing it like it's for a film, they're going to knock you out. You're done.
What do you like? What do you like most as an actress? Do you like doing, what films do you like doing? Do you like more horror? Do you like real life, documentary? What are you starting to gravitate to?
Well written and great crew. It's I've been on all those different ones. They've all been equally enjoyable and amazing, and I've left feeling like I've contributed back and built a family and a team, and so I'm not really partial to them like that.
What character are you partial to? You've been involved in so many things. So what's two of the major roles that you like playing, and then what are the two least and why for each one?
Recently, it was a surprise in a short that they let me play a lady that runs part of like a mafia like thing with the guy, like just as like a
Okay.
joke. It was kind of funny because it was like that's actually going to premiere at the Strand for the festival, but it was fun because I got to use the old pitch and tone of like one of those sassy old actresses in black and white, where they could raspy up their voice a little bit and kind of make it funny. And so it's kind of comedy in it. So it's not like super crazy, girl going crazy weird, but it was fun. It was enjoyable. Like, just a lot of different people goofing off with it. And they did let me play a clown that dresses up in a horror film, which was kind of fun. So when you get to put a whole different wig and wardrobe on, I don't think like if it was a Marvel theme, it would be different, but you're still getting in costume. You could play a superhero. I think sometimes when you get to embody all of those exterior things, it helps you kind of transform into something different, which is great.
What's one of the characters that you kind of was like, I didn't feel comfortable playing, and why?
Hmm.
Because
I don't think you
I'm pretty sure
go ahead.
I'm pretty sure there's moments, and I've heard this from other individuals in your field, that they have they have roles in which they played and they really felt uncomfortable playing it. And when they shared the reasons why, it's really profound. Have you had those moments? And if so, what role was it?
I think Robert De Niro said it best is he tries to find the redeemable quality in any character that he's given. Because if you're asked like to play somebody who's cheating with somebody against somebody, they're all of those characteristics that are not pretty that we convey in film. They exist really in all of us. We just choose not to be them. So uncomfortably speaking, it would be somebody that was either mean to children, right? Or like somebody who's doing something that's just awful. Like, it makes you feel bad. It's not always pretty. So I don't know that I've had any so far that I have had cringeworthy where I've been like, I just can't do that. I've not had to do that.
You got a Super Bowl on your resume. How in the heck did you get Super Bowl and acting in one? Tell me that story.
So at the beginning, when you don't know a whole lot, you're learning by being on large sets. And so I sent in just as a whim a picture to this audition platform, and they just emailed me back and asked me to be there. So when I got in the room full of people, I naturally was just a friendly, like, hi, how are you doing? It's nice to meet you. And so I shook hands with the right person, which happened to be the director from LA. And I just was nice. I didn't know who they were. And then I just said, I hope you're having a great day, and got out of the way and sat down and chatted for a minute. And then when they brought everybody up, he was like, you come here. And he put me up front in the middle of the lead people and had me act with them. Just
How did that make you?
happened.
How did that make you feel?
Um, like I'm in this where I'm supposed to be, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. That these are the people that I enjoy and love being around, and that I was able to have another experience in life that's just incredible, and I'm grateful for it.
You are the most humblest person that one of the most humblest individuals I've met. Like, I can see like you're really grateful for everything that comes into your life, and the fact that you take opportunities and really manifest them into something truly remarkable. You mentioned one of my favorite, the Marvel universe. Love it. How did that tell me about the relationship that you have with the young lady that asked you to be her roommate way back, and look where it has gone now. Tell me about your friendship and how that one encounter has really vibrated in something beautiful for both of you guys.
Well, as humans do when they spend time together in a small environment, we talked, we opened up, we worked together with photography, and then we were vulnerable with each other just as far as what we wanted in life. And a matter of fact, she called me one day and I called her before all the stuff happened with Marvel. We were working with photography.
Mhm.
Both of us said, we're not doing this anymore. We're not even going to keep going this direction. She was me either. And I said, cool. And then we just communicated and talked until then. And once her daughter got that role, then we did the red carpet stuff together, but then they moved. So really it's been sort of you know, you have friends that are long distance that even if you don't get to see all the time,
Mhm.
and just grateful entirely. I mean, she reaches out and just both of us how proud we are of each other just for how well everything's moving forward from that point. It's really very cool to have somebody that's where it started, kind of. That's cool.
Let's go back. Let's go to a something that you really like to do. Break dancing, hip hop dancing, salsa. You know, you didn't think I was gonna pull that out of the woodwork.
Oh, you're so nice. Break dancing's not on the list though.
I had to throw that on there.
I mean, if you give me a piece of cardboard and like a funny hat that goes sideways, I can make it look like break
How long have you been inspired? How
dancing.
long have you been inspired by dancing, and why salsa and why hip hop?
Same reason for the martial arts training, really. It was balance, coordination, and then I used to take classes, so I'd spread them out through the week, but we'd go from swing dance to salsa, and then we would go out and we'd take it to a club when I was in my 20s to try it out, to mix them, just kind of like actors do when they get together and work on something, to see if we could incorporate the steps into something in like a different beat and everything, right?
Right,
And it works. So I used to have a dance partner that would probably come up to like my shoulders, and
right.
they have to flip you and swing. So you reach between your knees and they flip you all the way over them. And I remember doing that in the middle of the floor and everybody in the room stopping. And that was pretty cool. That was fun.
Yeah, I'm
So
pretty
it
sure
was
that
just
is
very enjoyable. It was the best shape I've ever been in my life to do 4 of those a week. So it was great.
speaking of best shapes in your life. Before we wrap up, um, I noticed there was two key things on your resume. Let's talk about the first one in your encounter here. I love who shot JR. Let's talk about Dynasty. How did that come into your resume? And more importantly, do you know who shot JR?
Oh, very funny. That's not nice. Well, I wasn't there for that episode. um, So I kind of fell into that the same way I did with the Super Bowl. I sent something in and they asked me to come jump on board. The funny story about Dynasty is, and it's funny now, but it wasn't as funny then, was when Wardrobe and I were talking about wardrobe during the day, they had pulled a specific color for me and they gave it to me, right? And I'm wearing it and I'm out there. And the director pulls me and has me come close to the lead through to sit down close to that because we're filling up space in this restaurant. And unbeknownst to me, the poor girl is wearing the same color as I am.
Wow.
And so it gets brought to attention that we are both wearing the same color and that we have similar hair color or similar facial structure within the thing. And so they can't do anything about it at that point. And the director doesn't want to move anything at that point. So we just proceed. But when I get back at the end of the day, the lady was like, oh Lord, you're the same color. Because the camera picks up like one person's supposed to be in focus. And so it was what happened, it ended up being that another gentleman I was working with is friends with the director. So we ended up going to his house after it was all wrapped to just kind of chat it out and talk about it. And so we stayed there and hung out for a little bit. And then that was
That
the end
like
of that.
what's that like being on such a major set. I mean, because let's get real. I'm not trying to show my age, but I didn't miss an episode of Dallas. I mean, even to be even at the what's that ranch called? The Fort Worth Ranch or whatever it was. I mean, just to be a part of that, man, and being young, what was that even like being amongst all those great actors and actresses?
Educational. It's very, I mean, it's you're constantly aware when you're on that large of a set if you're trying to do your job correctly, because everything is very much pay attention quick, because they're going to move you fast, they're going to redirect you, and then it's all silence in between, so hurry up and wait, like they all say. But it's beautiful to watch all of the things change on different ones. So every time I'm on one, I learn something incredibly new. Some of the directors would let me, they don't always do that, but they would let you kind of see what was going on so you could understand how to help and do your job better. So I'd step back sometimes behind and look at the camera real quick to see where I'm going through. Like, where am I going to hit it? What is the mark on the end for you? How far is your focus puller from that end of the counter? Because that all plays into the timing of it. So it really just opened up my head and eyes to see what bigger projects feel like and look like on that scale.
Did anyone on that set like Larry Hagman or Sue Ellen or Patrick Duffy, did any of those guys even come to you with any words of advice, or it was kind of like it's just work and it is what it is?
On large sets, often that will not happen, only because you're on a schedule. No one's being rude. If I was there and it were me and I was doing the acting, I would want to make sure I was in the best place for the crew to have that shot for my character. Depends on the actor, depends on what the level of seriousness is that day too. So, and if they have to do something that's very much focused into their emotional pull, they're not going to want to sidebar and chit chat. But everybody's usually very kind. I've really not had any rude people.
I mean, how long was you part of that Dynasty series? Was it just a clip?
I worked like 2 days, 3 days with them.
Man, that's actually pretty damn good. Do you remember the episode?
Yeah, we were at the lodge, the ski lodge. So
You had to go and check that one out then. Last but
yeah.
not least, let's talk about a legend, Nashville's own Dolly Parton. Tell me the story.
She's fantastic. She is so brilliant. So I went in as a biker type person because we're filling out different spaces, but sat with wardrobe for a long time. A friend of mine was the drummer in the back for them, so he was there, which was great because he was on stage and I'm standing in the room, and he was like, "Oh my gosh!" So that makes you feel like you're at home already.
Right.
And then I had on some really serious boots, like top of the knee, big boots. And I'm sitting at the table and Dolly's walking through and she stopped right in front of me, looked at the boots, looked at me, nodded and smiled, and then walked on by. And I was like, oh, well, a nod and a smile from Dolly, I'll take it.
Yeah.
But she's got such grace and such a wonderful sense of humor. It's one of the reasons I actually look up so much to her, is that no matter what anyone says, she can turn it into something that is accepted and lovely and giving back, even if it was meant to not be in the first place. It was really cool to watch her show love to people and saying, yeah, she did a great job, because she's up there for a very long time and heals herself.
It's, first let me once again say thank you for coming off the beach to come and be a part of the show and share such a beautiful story. What have you learned from your journey so far? Because it seems, were there ever any moments of doubt? You gave up something for a dream, a hypothesis, because at that time it was clearly a hypothesis. But were there any moments of questionability with doing this?
Yes. Yes, most people that know you, if you do something that large, tell you that you're crazy. Like their first answer is, so you think that you're actually gonna do that? That doesn't make any sense. Or when you actually get your foot in the door, and even when you're doing that and you're on TV and you have speaking roles, people still say things like that.
Mhm.
So at first in your head, it could make you stop and go, oh, is it going to really work? And then you just remind yourself it's already working. Like it's already happening. Like it's not going to just stop. It's coming to you because you're also giving to it. So
What kept you going? What kept you going? Was it the fact that people might have thought that you couldn't? What was that beast mindset for you?
I think that plays a part into anything that we do, but it shouldn't be the mainline motivation because it will fail you if you hold that. It is, for me, it's because I feel a pull so strongly for it and to it that I know that it is part of my purpose and being for being here. I've seen people react to my craft in a room when I've done it and it's where I know I'm supposed to be, where it has helped, and they have seen things different in their life simply because of what I was allowed to bring through me to them. I'll be honest, that is vocationally, that is one of the best feelings you can ever have in it, is to see somebody else, it hit their register and then they change something that they wanted to and they didn't know how to, and you were a conduit for it. And you're giving back to that. It will bring in jobs for people. It helps creative people because they don't know what else to do with their creativity sometimes. Art is a very big part of our lives.
Hmm.
So people don't always pay attention to that until they don't have it or they don't see it. But it makes a very big difference in the way that people love and the way that they live.
You walk on a beach, you dance in the sun, the water's on your feet. A guy pulls out a camera and he's filming this beautiful young lady doing her thing, being in her own space. Who would ever think that it would manifest into what it has become right now? How is your family perceiving all this? You're a mother. How is your kid perceiving all this? The whole family now. Everything is coming to life.
Right. So I think if they would have thought that someone had put me in the movie at that moment, it would have been something different. Being as they used it for inspiration and then it transferred to me as inspiration and became this. My daughter, for instance, the card that she wrote me for my birthday, I like if I start talking about it now, I will start crying. It was just how proud she is to see all of the struggle and the time and the pain, the effort that you go through to become better at what you do. Because it's like being a pro athlete. It's how much time you spend on it.
You remember,
And
you remember what your daughter said in the card?
that she said, I know that there are things that you face every day that you don't tell me. See, it's gonna do it. And she said, and I could not imagine how hard it has been. And I am so proud of the things that you have accomplished and the things you will accomplish. I knew that's what you were supposed to do.
This came from your daughter.
Yeah,
Wow.
but she's
Inspired.
pretty cool.
Before we wrap up, Candace, leave the viewers with something. So leave them with that mindset that you have every day. Give them something to get up off of the couch and start believing in themselves the way that you did.
Hmm. I guess that's tricky. Hold on a second. Find the thing that brings you to life, the thing that wakes everything up inside of you to the point that if you don't do it, life will not have the same meaning. And find the reason why, and that reason will change every day, and that's okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the one, the only, the next great actress of our generation, the one, the only, Candace L. Lee on the Andre The Beast Crayton Show.